Feora, Protector of the Flame. Feora was both humbled and exalted by her travails during the Caspian Soul War, and most important conflict at the outset of the Great Crusade. Throughout the fighting, she rallied her followers in defense of the besieged city's sacred sites and led them on feats of uncommon bravery. She found, however, that before there could be victory, there must be sacrifice and change. During Signar's initial invasion into Sol, there was a moment in which Feora faced certain death. A confrontation with the Signaran warcaster Alistair Kane left her buried beneath the wreckage of her devout. Trapped and helpless, and surrounded by enemies, she experienced full self-awareness and did not like everything she saw. She realized her drive and ambition, though necessary to transform an unready populace into a viable army and in the name of menoth, had distracted her from her true path, forging the Flame Guard into the greatest fighting force in the Protectorate and rising on their efforts to position where she could lead the theocracy. She was also reminded that the original purpose of her order was the protection of the great holy places of Menoth, now threatened by the invading Signaran army. Well, that's not really, sounds like she's self-fulfilling her own demise there, because, yeah, self-reflection's usually seeing your faults and be like, you know what, maybe I should change, but she's like, you know what, this means I should be the leader of my entire order. Yeah, that's what she got. I'm not saying she's crazy, but that seems a little bit egotistical, but we are talking about Feora. With the clarity of purpose burning anew in her heart, Feora managed to find her strength to escape the Warjack's impossible bulk, even as the Daughters of the Flame who had witnessed her fall rushed to her side. She insisted they take her to one of the beleaguered outer garrisons and gather the surviving Flame Guard. At the head of the ragged force, Feora marched to the courtyard of the great temple of the Creator, where the Signarans pressed forward in a seemingly unstoppable advance. As she led her warriors into Signaran flanks, Feora unleashed the full fury of flame, backed by renewed faith and pain, filling her warjacks with power and annihilating whole ranks masses of the enemy. The Signaran balked and were routed, and the temple was preserved. Only months later, Feora marched alongside Hierarch Voil into the heart of Caspia itself. The armies of the Lawgiver seemed unconquerable as they laid waste to the enemies in Signar's capital. In their moment of triumph, Feora saw Lord Commander Striker defeat Voil, and with him their seemingly assured victory. Grand Exemplar Krios withdrew the army in response, and Feora reluctantly joined the retreat to Sol. Feora was shocked by Voil's death, as he had been instrumental in her rise to power. That such a powerful man could be killed in the moment of his triumph was troubling. Feora's ambition had taken the Hierarch's place seemed to be dashed when Severus, a man with little patience for disrespect and whom she had personally insulted, ascended to supremacy. Nevertheless, Feora's ambition remained undimmed, and she set about consolidating her political influence in the southern garrisons, while the Hierarch focused on extending his crusade to the north. Her eyes remained fixed on Signar. The great enemy, she began to align the pieces by which she would gamble her future on proving to her army that she should rule supreme. Though some of these risks did not pay off as she had hoped, nonetheless, she demonstrated her cunning, her boldness, and her utter fearlessness in the pursuit of her goals. The soldiers of the Temple Flame Guard still looked to her as the ultimate protector of the temple, as embodiment by the immortal flame. So yes, she almost had a life or death experience there and became more egotistical and power hungry. I suppose some people don't go the humble route on this, I guess. But yeah, let's see how much more dangerous she can get. Let's read the Mark 3 to Mark 4 changes. And as always, let's start with the stat line as usual. Still a speed 6, still a mat of 7. However, her rat went from a 5 to a 6, which would make sense since she's running some flamethrowers in this edition. Her arc is still a 6, and her control range is still a 12, and she is still a 15 and 17 armor as per last time. She still has immunity to fire, and she of course was given dual weapon as all warcasters in Mark IV have. Two abilities she has kept in this Mark IV is Caustic Presence, which any continuous fire effects of enemies in her control range control range no longer expire, so they can't roll any dice and have those expire. And then she also has Righteous Flame, so any enemy models ending their activation within 2 of her suffer fire continuous effects. So she will light you on fire and she will keep you on fire. So that is awful. Let's go over her feat and see what we have changes there. And Wildfire doesn't look like it's changed at all. Feora gains 1 focus point for each enemy currently in her control range who are suffering from fire continuous effect. Then can immediately hand that focus out to warjacks in her battle group that are also in her control range. And then on top of that, she can also remove fire continuous effect from any number of models in her control range and put those new fire continuous effect on other models, enemy models currently within her control range. So she can just pick up fire and throw it around however she sees fit, and she gains magic power for it. So yeah, that's awful. And she likes to catch things on lots of fire as per her weapons. Looks like she's given a heavy flamethrower, a spray 10, a POW 12, and causes fire damage and fire continuous effect because it is a flamethrower. And then her new weapon, instead of her little punching fist, she was given a weapon called the Apocalypse. And the Apocalypse is a range 2 weapon, so it has reach. It's magical and it has the fire critical effect, but this guy is swinging on a POW 14, so he can knock out some pretty heavy fire damage as well. Well, fire continuous effect. It's not a fire damage weapon, it's just fire continuous effect. And let's go over her spell list, see what has changed there. Alrighty, looks like we still have a Cleansing Fire, and Cleansing Fire is her AoE. Cleansing Fire causes fire damage, and on critical effect, models hit suffer fire continuous effect. It is a range 8 POW 14, 8 AoE, 2. And as every Protectorate warcaster seems to at least have 1 fire spell, and she actually has a few more, so let's go over that. It looks like they replaced Ember Spark with Convection. So Ember Spark used to allow the spellcaster to gain an additional spell or additional die on the attack rolls for that spell, and if the model was not suffering from the fire continuous effect, and it would cause the fire continuous effect. That's been scrapped. We now have Convection. Convection, anytime it destroys a living enemy model, you can give a focus to a warjack in your battle group, which is cool. And allows you to have a spell at least that you can kind of do damage and then give focus and then do more damage with the warjack later on. Then we still have Escort, and it says cohort models in the spellcaster's battle group beginning their activation in the spellcaster's control range gain +2 speed when advancing as part of their normal movement. And then the spellcaster gains +2 arm while one or more cohort models are within 3 inches of her or them. And I just want to note, because I've seen this happen a few times, cohort models and your spellcaster are not the same model. So cohort models would be any war beasts or warjacks in your group gain the +2 speed. Your spellcaster only gains the +2 armor. Just want to make that noted now, because I've seen that confused where they think the spellcaster is getting +2 speed and +2 armor, which would be awesome, but that's not how the spell works. And let's move on. We still have the Firestarter spell, which is awesome. It's an upkeepable spell. It says target a model in the spellcaster's battle group, and that model's melee and ranged weapons gain continuous fire. So another easy way to add fire to people. And for this particular warcaster, you want to add fire to a lot of people because her feat loves to have fire continuous effect out there. And then she still has her Fire Step spell. Enemy models currently within 2 of the spellcaster suffer a power at 13 damage damage roll. And then after the damage resolved, place the spellcaster at 2 inches from its current location. It can be used only once per activation, so you're still hitting people with fire. And, well, we all know that Feora loves her flames. And, yeah, outside of that, besides that one spell being switched with Convection, I think she is pretty much the same caster. Well, she has a little bit better rat. So she's a little bit better at doing her ranged weapons, especially since she does have a flamethrower that causes continuous fire and it has a spray of 10. Yeah, having the extra rat does definitely help her spread around that flame, but I'm hoping that I do not have to go up against her in the future because I'm getting a little bit old. But